Here you go, sir. Hey guys, welcome to the Transcript. This week we take a look at 9/11,
the NHS football team,
and the mayoral elections, as well as saying farewell to a great teacher.
On Sunday afternoon, protesters gathered outside Theta Chi, a UMass fraternity, to protest sexual assault allegations towards a member of the fraternity. A Change.org petition has also been created to remove the fraternity. The petition has received 11,000 signatures. In other news, early voter registration has been slow for the Northampton preliminary election, taking place on September 28th. City Clerk Pamela Powers said that her office has processed fewer than 500 requests for early voting out of the 21,000 registered voters in Northampton. In other news, Johnson & Johnson reported on Tuesday that a booster shot of their one-dose vaccine has drastically increased the efficacy of their vaccine. Researchers found that it had 94% efficacy in mild and severe COVID-19 cases, which is a significant increase from the previous vaccine. I'm Shiloh Hammerland, and thank you for watching.
This week, we continue to take a closer look at the 9/11 attacks by interviewing Lindsay Sabadosa, the state representative for Northampton and surrounding towns, and Jeff Parr, who was a first responder who worked on the search and rescue team, trying to rescue people from the collapsed towers, and is currently a paramedic and firefighter for the Amherst Fire Department. Both of them told us about their experiences during the attacks and how this has continued to impact them today.
So in 2001, I was living out in eastern Massachusetts in the town of Rockland. I was a firefighter there, and I had worked the night before and woke up in the firehouse that morning. And I was scheduled to stay for a few hours for another firefighter who had a class that morning. She was taking some college classes, so I was going to stay till 11 o'clock or noon time. And as we all kind of got together and started to have some coffee that morning, it was right around the time the first plane struck the North Tower down in Manhattan. And immediately, the guy who was on the watch desk, who happened to be watching TV, came out and told us all what had happened. And we rushed to the television, and after a few minutes we went upstairs because it was a bigger television, and of course you'd be able to see a little better, and started watching things start to develop down in New York. After a period of time, we watched the second plane strike the South Tower live as it happened. We watched, began to get some word of the crash into the Pentagon, but not a lot of detail so much on that, I don't think, as I remember.
On September 11th, 2001, I was a senior in college, and I was working on my thesis. So I got up really early that morning to meet with my thesis advisor, and I think we had an 8:30 meeting, which I was maybe a few minutes late to, because I remember I walked across campus to get to his office, and I walked in and they had the television on, and the first plane had crashed into the building, into the first tower. And I think, like a lot of people, we thought it was an accident. We didn't think really anything of it. We thought it was a smaller plane because it was hard to tell from the television. And you know, we just all were like, how could you possibly make such a mistake as to fly a plane into a building? And then I had my meeting with him, and I came out, and that's when you know, I think there had been a little bit more, people started to wake up, because it's college, people don't wake up super early. More people were coming out, and there was sort of this buzz of like, no, this wasn't an accident. People were starting to think like this was really serious, and we'd heard a lot of, there was chatter, and I went to Wellesley, so I was at school with a lot of people whose parents worked in DC and were part of the administration, and so we started to hear things. They started to kind of roll out, and then we all went into the dining commons, and the television was on, and we watched the second plane. And I think we spent a lot of time crying.
This September marks the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks in New York, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Americans have been reflecting on how the attacks have affected our lives and how we honor all of those who we lost. Our thanks to Representative Sabadosa and Jeff Parr for talking with us and letting us share their stories.
On September 9th, the Northampton School Committee began the process of voting on a vaccine mandate for public school employees in the district. This mandate would require all faculty and staff to take the vaccine with certain medical or religious exemptions. Such a measure would need the approval of both the committee and the Northampton Association of School Employees, the district's local union. We spoke to various NHS students and staff to better understand the impact of such a policy.
Do I think teachers should be required to get vaccinated? Well, I think it's a good idea for the safety and health of the students, but in the end, I think it's the teacher's choice, and if they want to go to the doctors or the hospital to get a vaccination. But I think it's a good idea overall. I think it could lead to students being required to get vaccinated, but I don't think it should lead to students being required to get vaccinated, because we're not really at that age where we can make choices for ourselves, and like we have to go through a lot of family stuff with that, and it just makes a lot of things complicated. But I think everybody should already be vaccinated.
Well, I think that for the overall health of the school and the students and just like the safety, I would say that to have everybody vaccinated would be a good idea, especially the teachers. That sets like a good example for students, and just like to do the right thing.
I think that's a trickier question because if you follow the lead of the federal government, they're able to ask employees to be vaccinated just like private businesses are. But with students, it's a trickier thing because I think the Department of Public Health and the Department of Education of the state need to make that call, and I don't think they're there yet. So my sense is that that's not gonna automatically follow.
I do think it will help. I mean, every little bit towards reducing the spread can help. And obviously, you know, we all have the same hospital here, Cooley Dickinson, and if that gets overwhelmed by people going to the hospital and getting seriously ill, that's a problem for our whole community. So yeah, I do think it will help.
I think it may. I don't know what the rate of vaccination is for faculty and staff, but my assumption is that it's pretty high anyway. But I think it will, you know, make people consider what they need to do in order to keep our community safe, and I think it might make a difference. I think it would be up to the public health department to, you know, give us the data and tell us what kind of impact it's making after they study that.
As we prepare to enter colder weather, it remains to be seen how COVID protocol and sickness might affect our school community. We will continue to bring you updates on this policy and similar decisions as they unfold. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll get right on that. All right, bye-bye. Levi, do this. Okay, guys, new assignments for this week. All right, Max, Beckett, you guys are on Hamped Up, okay?
Oh, can I bet hands up that I have a great idea about how...
Levi, you're cleaning the computers this week. What you working on?
I'm doing my editing for the 9/11 piece.
This angle is awful. You have to delete the whole thing.
I just got it started! You know what? I am done with this. I am done with Nola being the senior news producer. I deserve to do this job. Last year, I did it just as good as her, and I was doing all the work. Do you understand me? Nola has no right to do this, okay? Let's take a vote. Jeremy, can we take a vote on this?
I need a Cumbies coffee. Can you go get me one?
Yeah!
On September 23rd, the primary elections will begin in Northampton. Starting off with the preliminaries, where voters who are registered to a party will select which candidates they want to represent them in the general election in November. Our current mayor, David Narkowitz, is leaving his position after 10 years in office, and there are currently 5 people lined up on the ballot to take his place. Along with Narkowitz, majority of the school committee members will be leaving, and many city councilors as well. This week, we hit the streets of downtown Northampton to hear people's thoughts on the big changes coming to the city government.
So with these elections coming up, are there any changes you want to see in Northampton?
I'm sure there are, but there's a change I don't want to have happen that I would rather see.
What's that?
The downtown parking thing. I don't love the idea of going to 2 lanes. I hate the idea of losing parking spaces. It drives me nuts. I think it's just going to be a disaster.
So for me, I think I would stress to whoever the next mayor is, as a candidate who's been running for mayor, you've spent a lot of time out in the community, hearing from people, hearing the concerns that they have as you're running for the job. And I think it's important when you become mayor, not to end that conversation, to still be really engaged in the community. It can be a very isolating job, and they even made City Hall look like a castle just to kind of add to it, like you're locked in a castle. And I would say don't get locked in the castle, and make sure that you're out in the community and really are understanding what the pulse of the community is and getting feedback.
The 5 mayoral candidates on the ballot are Gina Louise Ciara, Rosashana Gordon, Roy Martin, Shauna Fischel, and Mark Warner. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.
Recently, the Northampton School Committee proposed a policy in which hate speech at all district schools would be banned. The policy was in response to a white student union that appeared on Facebook promoting racist ideologies and graphics. After initial debates of the proposed policy changes, the American Civil Liberties Union reached out to the committee and recommended that they rewrite the policy in order to withstand legal challenge. As the school committee further debates the policy, we spoke to members of our local community to discuss the potential ban on hate speech and what it would mean for Northampton schools and people of protected status.
Honestly, I can't imagine how this policy would move forward at all in its present state. I wouldn't be a school committee member if I didn't believe in the transformative power of education. We do already have policies in place to protect students from bullying, harassment, and discrimination. What I think would be most effective in eradicating hate speech in the Northampton public schools is a sustained and multi-pronged initiative that includes anti-racist curriculum, professional development, and training for staff, students, administration, and community members, and the enforcement of the new code of conduct. I do think that the administration handled the incident with the Confederate flag being used as a Zoom background at the middle school appropriately. As far as whether this is an improvement on that, the intention of the policy was actually to expand upon the policy that we had enacted banning the Confederate flag to include other symbols of hate, and to move to essentially include other protections that beyond what was already included in our policies on bullying, harassment, and discrimination, to also include stereotyping, bias, and microaggressions. The Massachusetts Constitution provides even broader protection of free speech than the First Amendment, and the ACLU has indicated the many ways in which this policy fails to maintain those protections. I think that this policy as written does in fact have the potential to infringe upon those rights.
I think theoretically, broadly speaking, at its core, this is a really, really good policy, a policy that should have been implemented in our district a long time ago. That being said, I do agree the policy is a little too broad for where we are in our district at this moment. I don't think that we have enough support for teachers in our district. I think for a policy like this to be implemented in the way that we all want it to be, I think teachers need to get a lot more support than they have previously gotten inside of our district. I think for a policy like this to be implemented, we need to have a robust restorative justice plan within our district. I think that a restorative justice plan, I think restorative justice practices are really crucial to preventing hate speech within our community and also for addressing it as it comes up on a case-by-case basis.
As has played out in the United States for the past few centuries, the issue of free speech is both complex and controversial. The conversation will be continued at the next school committee meeting on September 23rd at 6:45 p.m. Thanks for watching.
Gosh, what can I not say about Mr. Harp? I think if there was one significant moment in my life that I'd equate to Harp's greatness was the time where I saw a house burning. The fire trucks and the policemen and the ambulances, they couldn't get in. It was falling apart at the seams, and no one thought that the family was going to be saved. God forbid the dog. But then, as I watched this house burn down, you know who comes running out? Mr. Harp. The mom and the dad under one arm, the children under another, and the dog on his back. Blew my mind.
Wow, Harp. It's been a long time since, strong-armed me and my brother, and my parents, under each arm, an old Fido on his back. Lifted us up, carried us out of our burning house. Without him there, we probably would have been caught in the fire. He's just a hero. That's all there is to it, plain and simple. That's all there is to it. He saved us and so many others. I hadn't really heard much about him, and now Gabby is reaching out to me, and I'm hearing all this stuff, like how he saved a whole town from a flash flood. He stopped a bear from attacking a man on a hiking trail, or when he safely landed that airplane, that the autopilot turned out to be an evil robot. What a hero, and just a great guy all around. After he saved my whole family and our dog, he bought us all dinner. He's just, what a guy. What a hero.
Thank you so much for watching. And make sure to check out Theater Tech in the auditorium from 3:30 to 4:30.
I repeat, that is 3:30 to 4:30.